Today we're going to cover forms and shadow. Form is a 3D object having depth. Here in the image you see a cube, pyramid, sphere, rectangular prism, cylinder, and cone. Hi guys, this is Miss Bell. We're going to go over how to make forms. So forms are our three-dimensional shapes, if we remember right. And I'm going to lead you through. We're going to start out with the pyramid. Pyramids are really easy because you think of them as an arrow. So we're going to start an arrow, not too deep, not too shallow, and straight up the middle. And we're going to go from this point down to the one side and this one down to the other side. Remember, you cannot see behind a pyramid, so you only see two faces of that. Secondly, we're going to build on this pyramid with our cube. So we're going to start it the same way, where we have that arrow. I'm just going to make it a little shorter. And the top, this line will parallel with that line and end about the same place. So I'm going to be very careful to draw it at the same angle, not straight out, but at the same angle that this one is, so that they look the same. There we go. And I'm going to connect these two. And now it looks like a storybook. How about that? All right. Now the top of this, it's really important that you not come up too high, because that way it'll look like a pyramid on top, and that's not cool for a cube. So we want to go straight up again. I like to put a small dot where I want my lines to meet. So, and you draw out from the dot, and there you go. If you TP it too high, it's gonna look not like a cube, so be very careful with that. With our cone, we take that same top point and we're going to draw a dot on this side and a dot on that side. I like to use a shallow happy face and then connect my dots. There we go. And there's my cone. Please remember that this is a curved form and that you don't see the other side, okay? And we'll also look at the light sources for these. For our cylinder, we kind of build on the cone. You want to have a shallow happy face. So here we are with the shallow happy face. And we're going to go straight up from these points here. Straight up. And another shallow happy face. I'm going to go ahead and connect these dots on the side, and it's starting to look like a Pringles can. Now for this top piece, just like the cube, you have to be really careful not to make it too tall. So you want to do a shallow sad face. And there's our cylinder. Here with our sphere, we have to be really careful. It doesn't look like a form until it's shaded. So I'm going to do a smaller one. And remember our light source. We're going to have our light source come from this direction. Remember, we do our small dots to give us our lightest spot. We're going to give ourselves marks for our medium. So we have dark, medium, and then our lightest is at the top there. Remember, we are not going in a spiral. That is not what we do. You're following the curve of the object itself. So a sphere does not look like a sphere until it has some form of shading on it. Please try to remember that, guys. All right. So I'm going to follow that around. And remember, even for these lightest parts, there is some graphite that's laid down for it. So please take that into consideration. And here I'm going to a slightly medium tone in my area here to here and here to here. using contour hatching slightly, a little bit of blending. And remember, when you're in the center, it's just a little bit of graphite laid down. I like to erase just a tiny bit, just leave it there on the surface. All right, so there you have your forms. When you're shading your forms, make sure you draw each form one time. Watch the video link, again, if you need to, and you can choose the shading technique for each form. Make sure you label them and make sure your light source is consistent. This also needs to be done in your paper sketchbook. Hi guys, this is Miss Bell. We're going to talk about light and shadow. Okay, so with light, you need to consider the source where your light is coming from when you look at an object. I am going to use a small egg. Now, I'm in the South, so I did not have a regular store-bought egg. I have homegrown chicken eggs. So I'm going to use the egg that we have, and I'm grateful for that. So when we look at our light, the light source that I have now is coming from this direction, and you know that because of where the shadow is falling. Correct, if that's what you said to yourself. So here I'm going to look at my egg, and I'm going to try to figure out where my lightest spot is on the egg. So wherever the lightest spot is on your egg will be the lightest point in your drawing. So that right there is the lightest point on my egg. Okay? And I'm sorry, I moved my egg. That is my lightest point on the egg. Now, mind you, here on the side, I have a section that I can see that is slightly darker. Now, we're going to talk about reflected light. I have right here a blue sticky note. When you have a darker base underneath your object, you will have less reflected light on your object. So if you look here, you see my egg got just a little bit darker on the side. However, if I use my note card, you see more light reflected from the note card onto the egg. So you see it's lighter just right along the edge there. So again, for contrast, here you do not see that lighter strip using the blue, whereas with the white, there's light bouncing from here to the egg, so you have a lighter space at the bottom. So making sure that you understand reflected light is also very, very important, and your light source as well. All right, so we're going to move on. Oh, wait, no, don't roll away. Okay, all right. All right, so we're going to look at a sphere, a base sphere. So here I have my egg. I like to sketch it out, just nice and messy. I'm a messy sketcher, sorry guys. And I also like to put my objects on a base. I don't like them floating in the air because they don't float in the air. And my light source will come from the word light. So let's just make our lives easy, and there we go. So my shadow will fall here on this side. So also, when we think about that, the lightest part of the egg will be somewhere around here. Remember, I said I like to use dots to help me detail spaces that should not be, that should be separate in shading tones. So if this is my lightest spot, say from about here to here is going to be medium. And it's a curved line. I'm not going to put lines there, but I might put dots to really help me understand. Okay, make sure that that stays in that area. So here I have dark, medium, and light. Okay, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and shade that in, do some blending, I'm going to do some traditional blending. It just goes a lot faster. I like to lay down a nice and easy layer of graphite. I'm lightening my pressure as I get closer to my lightest point. Most times when artists are drawing things, like I said, I'm a messy person when it comes to drawing. I'm also a ceramist and sculptor. So most of my drawings are used for sketching. Can't you tell? But I did love drawing when I was in school. I had to be very patient with myself. The material is very different from what comes to me very naturally when I'm working with paper and pencil. So here I've got my base layer down. I'm going to do very, 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 very light here. I'm going to go ahead and clean up that edge so that I know where I'm working to. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and start laying down more graphite here. Now the darkest edge will be the farthest away from the light source. And then, like I said here, I'm going to get into that medium, but remember, you don't want a line there. You just want it to blend. It should just blend right in. So make sure you're not using a line to define those two spaces. All right, so we're going to go with that for now, and we're going to go into our shadow. So here, and make sure you swoosh your little crumblies away. You don't want to draw on top of those. All right, so here, like I said, the light source is here, and my object is oval. So my light source will come here and here. So I need to make sure that, first of all, my shadow falls in line with that. And it shouldn't be as large as my object itself. Depending on where the light is. If it's high up, your shadow is going to be more shallow. If it is farther down, kind of like a sunset would be, it's going to elongate your shadow. So be mindful of what you choose your shadow point to be. Now, shadows are very dark. I'm going to assume that my surface is also very dark. So here I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. Now, when you're doing objects that are that have edges, it's going to look very different, and that's in a separate video when we talk about adding shadows to our forms. So remember, you're just laying down layers and layers of graphite. You're not rubbing hard, you're just adding more layers. And there we go. All right, make sure you blend well. Make sure there are no lines that you can see between each different value.
Thanks for watching.